Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Max from MBD Developments and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to have a look on how to install Dosbox. Get it up and running, get your first game running and get you going. So, let's get to it. First up, go to dosbox.com. In your favorite browser, go to downloads and download Dosbox. It's about 2 megs of files, so it will download very quickly. Once your file is downloaded, double click Dosbox, run, read the license agreement, next, core files, desktop shortcut, next. You can leave this in the destination folder as this will not affect where your virtual C drive will be running, but this is entirely up to you. I just leave it in its default folder and it is completed. Now once you have installed Dosbox, you double click on the icon, you will notice that you come to a Z drive, and this is where most people get confused and most people are not interested in reading the manuals, and this is why I am here today. Okay, Z drive is a virtual drive only which is created by Dosbox when starting up in order to host a couple of files that it needs, command com file, the .exe file, etc. You will, however, notice that there's no C drive. In other words, it doesn't mount a drive, no D drive, it doesn't mount anything, so it seems useless. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to quickly set this up. First up, we're going to close Dosbox. Then, go to your computer, my documents, wherever you like. I prefer simply the C drive, and create a directory where your DOS games and your DOS software will be stored. For simplicity, I always choose the C drive and I call it Dosbox games. It's just easy to remember and it's a very simple path to work with. You, however, can decide wherever you wish to place it depending on your directory structure. Just do make a note of the complete path of this directory as you will be needing it soon. Great, we can minimize that. Now, we are going to add a couple of settings to Dosbox's configuration file. That is to, number one, automatically mount a C drive and to mount your CD-ROM. So let's do that. You can right click on your Dosbox icon, open file location. This is just a very quick way to get to the root directory of Dosbox itself, of the actual software. Once you're in there, double click on options and you have access to all of Dosbox's options, which we are not going to do anything with, not needed. All that we're going to do is we're going to go right down to the bottom of the page. Once there, we're going to add the commands. Just a very brief explanation of this section. The DOS gurus will probably remember this very well. I'm not too sure about the younger guys and how many of you is in retro gaming or how many of you actually do work with DOS for some weird reason. But pretty much all that this is when DOS starts up, it's got an .exe file where it stores all its startup information. In Dosbox, it works a little bit differently. It still does have an .exe file, but it's all controlled through this little text document. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it, number one, it must mount the directory that we have set for Dosbox as its C drive. In other words, it must use it as its virtual drive. Any software, anything that you install in Dosbox will go into that drive and is separate from the rest of your computer. It's only a virtual drive. The way we do that is we say mount it as the C drive in Dosbox, and then you give it the full path to the directory that you have set aside for Dosbox. In order to mount your CD-ROM, very simple, is same process as your C drive with a few differences. Number one, obviously you must mount it to whichever number. I mounted to E for various reasons. Some people will mount it to D. I just do it for consistency. I wish to mount my E drive as I have several drives. Space dash T space CD-ROM. This will mount your CD-ROM. And then the final command, which is not absolutely a necessity, I just do it for convenience sake. I'm just telling it, once you have started up Dosbox, immediately jump to the C drive, in other words to my C drive, my command prompt, where I can then immediately access my files. And that is purely C colon. You can save this file, close it. Just going to minimize for that. Excellent. So if you did everything right, you start up your Dosbox, it should look something like this. C drive with your C prompt. If you look a little bit up, you will see it has mounted my CD-ROM and it's mounted my directory. So if I type now directory, it's empty, but it's created. And then of course my E drive, which is my CD-ROM, which I do know works. Okay, but now how do I get a game to run in here? Very simple. I'm gonna close this down. Now you can go back to the directory that you have set up for your Dosbox games. Most abandoned Dosbox games, you can do the process that I'm doing now. You can literally just copy and paste the directory into that Dosbox games. I do know that some of the older games do want you to install, especially when you're working with a CD-ROM. You can also still just copy it over, put it in a different directory, run the standard game install, and tell it to install. It will automatically install it in this virtual folder for you. But like I said, in most cases, it's just a case of copy and paste. Another tip, DOS only manages, or should I say Dosbox only manages a couple of syllables. Lack of a better word now. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is, I've only got about 8 characters to work with. So what I normally do is I strip the title of the folder and I make it something very short. Like this case was Civilization or Civ 1, which is an abandonware game, which I'm just using for demonstration purposes. So I'm gonna go copy, paste it. I've renamed it just to Civ 1 as short as possible, and you can close that up. Excellent, and there's your game, all the files in your virtual directory. Now, if you go start up your Dosbox again, and voila, type directory, there's your Civilization 1. To get into your game directory, you can say cd space civ1 in my case, and it will take me to the C directory. If I type dir, it will show me all the files in the directory. Excellent. And let's fire it up. Let's see if it runs. So the command file should be civ. This is very dependent on game. Game by game, just check. Normally it's your exe file. It will say, like in this case, it should be civ, and it really depends on the game. As far as I can remember, this is civ, and yes, it runs. Excellent. Now with Civilization 1, it will ask you these settings every single time you start up, but again, that's game dependent. That's VGA. Let's say Sound Blaster. But let's say no sound. Let's say I've got a mouse and a keyboard. And there your game starts. And that's it. One final tip, guys. Actually, 2 final tips. Number 1 is, in order to play this full screen, just make sure that you are tapped in and you can press Alt and Enter. I unfortunately cannot do it. It does something funky to my recording software. So yes, you can literally just enter it, hold Alt, hit Enter, and it will make it full screen as with any other Windows application. Second tip, I have come across people saying that the games run too fast. That happens a lot of the times, especially with the really old DOS games. So I'm just going to give you guys one more quick tip. You can go back to your Dosbox installation directory. You can open up your options. Scroll down and you can look for a line that says cycles. That's a very important line. As you can see, mine is modified a bit to 15,000 cycles. Normally this will be auto. I have found auto or max, and I have found this does have a tendency to make games run too fast. When you do play games in DOSBox, what I normally do, I suggest around 50,000. See how your game runs. Another piece of advice, you will notice below that there's cycle up, cycle down. Now I know this is set I think to 20 or 15, but I normally set it down to 5. This gives me greater control over the next trick that I'm going to show you or tell you guys about. So make that around 50,000, cycles up 50, cycles down 5. If you're happy with that, well, you should be happy with that, and you can just hit the save button. That will bring the cycle speed down of your DOSBox emulation. The second thing that I showed you guys, where I said set it to 5. When you are in DOSBox and you hit control, hold control in, hit F11, it will bring down the cycles. In other words, make it slower, or control F12, it will increase your cycles. Sometimes that increment is too big, that jump is too big between the one cycle jump and the next, and that is the reason for the 5-5 cycle setting. Right, that is it. Your DOSBox is installed, your DOSBox is configured, your game is set up, and you are ready to roll. Guys, I say to you, thank you very much for joining me. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you liked it, please subscribe, please like. If you have got comments, please leave them in the comment box. Be nice. This is my first video. I'm always open to positive criticism. So yes, and most of all, I really hope this is helping out a couple of people. Enjoy.